Hello, my beautiful friends. It is an amazing day. Welcome back. I hope your week has embarked in a beautiful manner because it's only going to get better from here. We got some good business to attend to today, including the firing of Jack Smith's team by left the DOJ in disgrace, fired for what they've done to this country. So let's do a preview on what's coming up. Then we'll zoom in on the finer details. We're going to go through this story. I've got several articles pulled up that are giving us the inside scoop on this firing that's happened at the DOJ. It's about time. Actually, it's right on time. Trump has been moving quickly, but they should have been gone years ago. They should have never even been brought in on this. But Jack Smith's team is now getting gone. And so we've got several things that came out, including the letter, courtesy of our friend Phil Holloway, who's right next door on the YouTubes. But ABC News has the names of the folks who are gone, including Molly, a.k.a. Highlighter Girl, and Jay Bratt, the Florida Oompa Loompa, gone. We know that from some prior departures, but we'll get the latest here on who actually got the cut. We'll also read the letter that has come out and see what was there before we get further details from some other articles. But I want to then follow this up with reaction from the people who got pardons who were responsible for colluding with the DOJ, not only in the Trump prosecutions, but in the J6 scheme in the first place. So we got Stinky Eric Swalwell, who is still passing off the lie about Brian Sicknick, the officer's death. And Julie Kelly, our friend, of course, on X and everywhere, is also sharing that Raskin is feeling a little panicky as well. So we got some good stuff coming up on the Jack Smith DOJ saga and the purge that's happening there. Then this week, we've got Kash Patel, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard, who are going to be sitting for their confirmation hearings. And Democrats are freaked about it. You can see Senate Judiciary Democrats have come out. They sent this letter saying, oh my gosh, Kash Patel, totally disqualified. And we're going to read this and you're going to say, what? It looks like a nasty letter, right? Like there's a bunch of like juicy bits in there. It's pathetic. I'll show you. We'll go through it. But I want to share with you the onslaught that's happening. Inside Jen Psaki's back, she's hanging out with a walrus, John Bolton. And he's explaining that Kash Patel's dangerous. We also have these people, these senators, who are also sitting around. They're doing podcasts now too. Oh, they're doing podcasts. Look, that's Ted Cruz's stick. All right. What are you doing? You're not allowed to do that. Chris Murphy from Connecticut. So we got this is not walrus, watermelon head, pencil neck Adam Schiff, who's also saying the last person you want is Kash Patel. I bring this up to show you there is an onslaught happening. And Steve Friend, who is no longer with the FBI, retired and blew the whistle on him, is sharing with us this memo that came down and what's happening inside the FBI right now as they're all bracing for impact now that President Trump is correcting the Bureau. We also see they're coming out and attacking RFK Jr., who's going to go after people like Fauci, hopefully, and Rand Paul is digging into subpoenas for their booties out at the NIH. So we'll talk about all of that. Then a border update, because James Comer has now sent subpoenas from the Oversight Committee to the sanctuary city mayors, guys like Eric Adams, honorable. All right. He's becoming more honorable by the day, but Eric Adams is the mayor of New York who got a nasty letter, and Brandon Johnson did. He's over in Chicago. He's this guy right here. And he's getting a subpoena to come into Congress to testify. We'll read through those. We'll get reaction on that. Tom Homan's coming out and just playing patty cake with the media. And we'll listen to him reacting to Selena Gomez, who's crying her eyes out over this enforcement of the law. We'll hear from Richard Grinnell, and then we'll round out the day by hearing from Karoline Leavitt, who did an amazing job today during her first press briefing. And there's this great new account on X called Rapid Response 47, which is just crushing it. And I think I know who's behind it, who's operating it, but they're doing a great job. And it's going to be fun. So we got 4 years of this stuff, and they're coming out dunking on all of the lefties who are trying to pervert the cessation pause, rather. It's just a pause. I don't know what they're so freaked out about. It's just a temporary pause, okay? It's just 14 days to slow the spread of money so we can identify the corruption and fix this. It'll come back on soon. Just 14 days. Relax. Take it easy. So James from New York, she's throwing a temper tantrum over this, but we'll clarify what's happening from Rapid Response, and we'll watch Karoline Leavitt just obliterate the room while she's in there, explaining to them what the word criminal means, how that works. And so all this is coming up. And if we've got some time, we'll hear what John Thune had to say as well. And so we got a bunch of good stuff to get to, my friends. I'm really glad that you are here and with us. I hope that your week is going just amazingly and outstandingly well. Before we get into the news on the day, let's make sure we're getting prepared, courtesy of our friends at the Wellness Company, because the question is whether the globalists are gearing up for another pandemic scare after they failed in November. Just weeks before the inauguration of President Trump, Newsom came out. He came out, bird flu, state of emergency, granted himself a bunch of powers, all reminding us of COVID. And this was after a severe case of the bird flu that was popping up in Louisiana. Critics like Nicholas Hulsher warn that pandemic fears may be weaponized to go after RFK Jr., who's going to be confirmed, hopefully, tomorrow. So is this a healthcare crisis? Is this a power play? You know, last summer, Dr. Peter McCullough warned about the bird flu, linking the virus's rapid spread to gain-of-function research, which is now a common thing even the CIA is admitting now may have happened. And we know Dr. Peter McCullough, okay, he urges early prevention just in case, which is why we've got our friends at the Wellness Company. We've got their medical board. They approved the solution, 5 critical life-saving meds inside this kit. You've got ivermectin, Tamiflu, all sorts of good stuff. Every household should have at least one of these puppies in case you need these hard-to-get medications in the event of another pandemic. And so you can get yours. Fill out a digital intake form. Your kit will come in 1 to 2 weeks. You don't need to wait. You can stay ready for the unexpected. So go to twc.health/Robert. Use code Robert. You're going to save $32 off, and you're going to get free shipping, and you're going to save. So grab that, twc.health/Robert. Link is down in the description below, and this is for U.S. residents only. And, of course, thanks for supporting the Wellness Company, the sponsor of today's episode and the sponsor of the show for today. So let's get into the news on the day. Now that we're warmed up and ready, you're fired, says President Trump to Jack Smith's team and a dozen other key officials. We're trying to piece together who was actually canned and walked out with their little box. Here, take your little crap in here and all your donuts and cookies and stuff and waddle on out of here. To all these prosecutors, gone. The Fox News website is reporting, but we've also got the letter that went out. This came courtesy of our friend Phil Holloway, and we'll read the exact letter that was sent to these folks who should have been fired and essentially never hired in the first place. We'll come back on that. But here's the background, telling us that according to Fox, an exclusive for them, the Justice Department is firing more than a dozen key officials who worked on Jack Smith's team prosecuting Trump after acting Attorney General James McHenry said that they could not be trusted in, quote, faithfully implementing the president's agenda. Gone. Afuera. McHenry has transmitted the letter to each official notifying them of their termination. Now, it's unclear exactly how many got the letter. Individual names were not immediately released. We'll come back, we'll read it. The move comes after the DOJ, the new DOJ, reassigned more than a dozen officials in the first week and created a sanctuary city task force, amongst other measures. Now, it also comes after Trump vowed to end the weaponization of the government. Jack Smith, as we know, not a real boy, not a U.S. attorney, not legitimately appointed by the president or confirmed by the Senate. His case was dismissed in embarrassment by Judge Eileen Cannon in Florida. And then he tried to run away and hide soon as Trump won the election because he needed to finish his hack report and release that in the January 6th case. He was tasked with overseeing both of those prosecutions. We covered them here. And of course, both of those cases were dismissed. What a total failure. So now the team over there got fired. We'll learn more about the names and who explicitly is canned. But as we see, Phil Holloway linked us to this letter, and he's on YouTube and elsewhere, so make sure you give him a follow. But here's what the letter said from the Office of the Attorney General. From the Acting Attorney General. Subject: notice of removal from federal service, aka you're fired. Saying this letter provides official notice that you are being removed from your position at the Department of Justice and from the federal service effective immediately. Oh, that feels good. Now, as President Trump declared on his first day back in office, quote, "The American people have witnessed the previous administration engage in a systematic campaign against its perceived political opponents, weaponizing the legal force of numerous federal law enforcement agencies against those perceived political opponents in the form of investigations, prosecutions, civil enforcement actions, and other related actions." Now, nowhere was that effort more salient than in the unprecedented prosecutions the DOJ vigorously pursued against President Trump himself. You played a significant role in prosecuting President Trump. The proper functioning of government depends on the trust superior officials place in their subordinates. Given your significant role in prosecuting the president, I do not believe that the leadership of the department can trust you to assist in implementing the president's agenda faithfully. As a result, pursuant to Article 2 of the Constitution and the laws of the United States, your employment with the Department of Justice is hereby terminated. And you are removed from federal service effective immediately. Get the hell out. Signed by the Acting Attorney General. That was good. All right, so you can see ABC has some more information for us. Alexander Mullen was reporting on it. Says over a dozen people are now fired. The letters were transmitted. Don't know the exact number, but they're gone. Now, Jack Smith resigned prior to Trump taking office so that he could race to release his little report that nobody cared about because it was all fake anyways. And separately, an official confirmed to ABC News that the top career officials in the DOJ, this guy called Bradley Weinsheimer, was recently informed he was being reassigned. You're gone. Weinsheimer was a longtime career public official and gained notoriety last year in exchanges with Joe Biden's attorneys as they sought to prevent Robert Hur from releasing his final report. The email said, "You played a significant role in prosecuting Trump, and we can no longer trust you." Now, while several career officials who played prominent roles departed before Trump came in, they ran away and like, "Can I come to your law firm, please?" Including Jay Bratt, remember him, the Florida Oompa Loompa, who allegedly was trying to commandeer Stanley Woodward's client by infecting the attorney with a conflict of interest proposal saying that if you get your client to flip on Trump, you can be a judge in Washington, D.C. Just get your client to flip. Disgusting and shameful. Several other career attorneys who were on Smith's team decided to remain on the team and remain with the DOJ because where are they going to go? Among those officials were longtime career trial attorneys. Molly Gaston, highlighter girl. She's gone. Oh, man. I guess the Trump DOJ didn't care about her little sticky notes and her little tabs on the discovery. She's like, no, but I only was the highlighter girl. I didn't prosecute you, Mr. President. I was just tabbing the binders for Jack Smith. I don't care. You're fired. Get out. J.P. Cooney, Mary Dorman, and Ann McNamara, all of whom were informed of their terminations on Monday. You're gone. And briefly on this, remember, this was a very important issue, actually, in the Trump January 6th prosecution. The government had like millions of pages. I forget the numbers explicitly, but they were more Then the litigation that involved Walmart versus Visa that took 7 years. It was more discovery than that. Let's just use, broad numbers. 8 million in that case. Walmart versus Visa, 8 million. United States versus Trump, 12 million. And they gave Trump like 9 months to review it all. Walmart versus Visa took 5 years to litigate, right? That's the kind of quantity and volume we were talking about. Molly said, well, Your Honor, it's not that big of a deal because I've assembled the discovery, so Trump's team doesn't need to read it. And I've organized this with, I guess, a table of contents and all sorts of crap in there. And Chutkin was like, that's just amazing. This is great legal work. You're right. Trump doesn't need to read anything because you got sticky notes on it. So Mark Zaid, a prominent national security attorney who's represented federal officials, said his firm is going to represent them pro bono. Anybody who got terminated. All right, great. So they're gone. Bye, Jack. And good riddance to them. You can see AP is reporting. Don't think that they have any other names here. They call it a norm-shattering move. Why? Do you think the president has any obligation to keep the people who try to incarcerate him in the government? Absolutely not. In fact, we believe those people are criminals based on what we've seen so far. Not all of them we have evidence on, but there's going to be evidence once we get their files. The firings are effective immediately. The letter was epic, so they're all now done. On his first day, he issued a sweeping slew of pardons. Pam Bondi said at her confirmation hearing she's not going to play politics. And the firings were first reported over by Fox. Now, something else interesting happened today. This is Leo Terrell. He is a Fox News contributor, podcast host, civil rights attorney, and more. He was in the DOJ building today, and something went wrong. I don't know if Jamal Bowman was in there and pulled a fire alarm or what happened, but here's what happened. They had to evacuate the DOJ.
Hi, Leo 2.0 here. There was an evacuation order in the Department of Justice. We all had to leave the building, and we're out now walking outside the Department of Justice building. I'm gonna flip the camera over so you can see all the people outside on the corner. The building has just been evacuated. Why? We don't know. They say it's an emergency order. Let me see if I flip the camera.
You can't, it's an iPhone.
I can't do it.
Yeah, they suck.
But I'm pretty sure we'll find out what's going on. Let me see. There's a lot of people out in the streets now.
You can't flip it because it's an iPhone. Yeah, sorry.
More details later. I'm enjoying my work for the president and for America.
Heck yeah, baby, Leo!
I didn't enjoy going down 5 flights of stairs.
Yeah, well, it's good for you. It's good for you. So, all right, so the DOJ got evacuated, and here is what else he said, because he was able to flip his camera around when he hit the record button again. And so here's what he was able to share with us.
He waited out of the Department of Justice building. You can see the people standing on the corners. People over there standing, and people across the street. These are all DOJ employees. What's going on?
Was that a shredder van right there? That white van? Looks like a shredder van, huh? Oh, yeah. What is it, Frito-Lay's? Yeah, right. That looks like an FBI Frito-Lay's van. Yeah, that's okay. There's all the evidence. Get it, Leo. Go get it.
This happened.
It's going.
Just right as the afternoon was starting. More details later.
All right. So who knows what happened? I think we have a pretty good idea. That was the shredder van. So they're lying about what's happening with Jack Smith and the J6 case and the prosecution and all this stuff. Now, something very interesting happened this morning, and we talked about it on our Membos morning stream. And it was scheduled for a January 6th pardon obsession hearing with Chuck Schumer and senators. And they were going to come out on C-SPAN. It was all scheduled and everything. And then they woke up and they're like, holy crap, Trump just eliminated $3 trillion of our pork grift. And now we're freaked out about that. So they revamped this morning's press conference and changed it from we're mad about pardons to now we're mad about our money going away because we're grifters. And it is interesting how they can't even have any cohesion around a message because Trump is moving so quickly. But yesterday, this was from Eric Swalwell, stinky Eric Swalwell, who made Bang Bang with Fang Fang, a Chinese spy, who is now telling us that this is reprehensible, J6 pardons, blah, blah, blah. Here he is.
And to Jason and the officers. My name's Eric Swalwell. I'm the son of a police officer.
Okay.
I have two brothers who today still walk the beat. I'm a former prosecutor, so I can tell the difference between a cop and a convict.
Wow, that's
Donald Trump
poetic.
just unleashed and released into our communities over 1,000 criminals, many of them who committed violent acts. And nothing about what Donald Trump did.
No, those were allegations brought by a corrupted DOJ. Everybody deserves due process under the law. You can make claims about violence and you can say that people looked violent in videos and photographs, and maybe you wouldn't engage in that type of material or that type of behavior, but you really don't know how you'd act if you were standing in a giant crowd and people were shooting projectiles at your face and you were all entrapped and ensnared in a little pit and you're under attack, right? Things get squirrely pretty quickly, so it's hard to say all that. But anyways, the point is they're allegations that were brought by a corrupted process. That's the whole concept of due process. That's the whole concept of the pardon power. And that's why the people have the final say, so that they can elect a president to override the bureaucratic mess that has been created by these people who will come out and use his pedigree. His dad's a cop and he's a prosecutor, so he can do some poetry, convict and cop. Amazing.
It erases what those individuals did on January 6th. Nothing erases what they did.
Yeah, they did, actually. The pardon did, okay? And you know who else did it? The American people, because we elected Trump knowing that he was going to do that. Trump didn't bait and switch us like your president did, saying he wasn't going to pardon his family, and then poof, the whole family got pardoned for stuff they weren't even charged with, dude. So there was no bait and switch. Trump announced he was going to run for office and pardon the people, and he did it. And the American people voted for him for that reason. So we are saying what you did was unacceptable.
But we should erase this concept that Donald Trump and the Republican Party have the backs of law enforcement officers. Donald Trump does not back the blue. He backs the coup. And this
more poetry! What is it with these people? Who's writing this crap for them? Sheesh.
Makes that absolutely clear. I was in the chamber on January 6th, and I'm eternally grateful to Officers Hodges and Dunn, Officer Mike Fanone, Sergeant Gunnell, Officer Sick.
Yeah, we got questions for a lot of them about where they were and why their testimony doesn't match other evidence that's been presented in the J6 cases. We're looking forward to that.
Sicknick,
yeah,
who
what?
Lost his Officer Mike Fanone, Sergeant Gunnell, Officer Sicknick, who lost his life that day.
No, he didn't. You're a liar, Eric. You're a liar. He didn't die that day. He died the next day, and he died of natural causes. Even the Capitol Hill police said it was natural causes. This dude is a liar, and he's like a bad version of Dr. Seuss. I don't know what he's doing, but the coup and the blue and the rhymes and the, you know, fang, fang, and bang, bang is what we're talking about here. He's taking our little riff here. Fang, fang with bang, bang, that we do the rhymes here. All right, so that's Stinky Eric Swalwell, who is lying through his disgusting rhyming teeth through to all of America. And they know this lie is so offensive to me. They know it's a lie. And they held like a state funeral for the guy. And they've been perpetrating this hoax from the very beginning. And they still will not correct the record. It's dishonorable for them to do that. And I'm upset that we lost another human, right? I don't want anybody to die anywhere, ideally. But we do, right? That's part of the process. But when you blame something else for that, you are exploiting that person's death, which is a dishonorable thing to do. Don't dishonor somebody when they're dead, jerks. So, all right, Julie Kelly, she's amazing, of course. And she got this clip, and she makes this astute observation. She says, now that the pardoned Jamie Raskin refers to Ed Meese as a criminal for opening up an internal investigation into the DOJ's abuse of the law, right? They were using 1512C2, which was that corruptly case where they were saying that there was obstruction of the documents and that there was a corrupt intent happening. But the Supreme Court came back down and narrowed it aggressively, right? Then the DOJ kept those prosecutions going. And the question, of course, in all of these prosecutions is not just with 1512C2, but all the charges. Are they being implemented by corrupt prosecutors in a way that is malicious or in an abuse of their office? Raskin is upset about this. Here's what Julie shared with us today.
Another concern of yours, this firing today of the Jack Smith prosecutors also appears to be illegal.
Yeah. Full-blown assault at the Department of Justice to sack the prosecutors who've been upholding the law. These are career prosecutors, part of...
Jack's not even a real prosecutor. He got his whole case dismissed, Jamie, in Florida.
The civil service, absolute professionals with complete integrity.
No, that's not true, because Stanley Woodward, a defense attorney who is an honorable person, said that Jay Bratt tried to coerce him into getting his client to flip on Trump, which is unethical and outside the rules and an abuse of office and malicious prosecution and, again, dishonorable. So don't bring that out without being able to back it up.
And they're sacking the ones who participated in the special counsel investigation just for being put on that team. And at the same time, the U.S. attorney in the District of Columbia is actually investigating its own prosecutors for participating in the cases against the January 6th insurrection.
The Biden prosecutors, they're not their own prosecutors. Yeah, they work at the DOJ, but if they're criminals who are corrupted inside the office, they should be investigated.
So, people have been saying for a while that in Congress, the inmates have taken over the asylum. It's like the criminals are now running the Department of Justice and the criminal investigative apparatus of the United States.
Wrong. The good guys are back in charge. You guys got caught with your hand in the cookie jar. You tried to break glass in case of emergency, do anything humanly possible to stop Trump because you realized, your thesis was, that as long as you secured power, you would be able to cover up the crimes. And you didn't secure power. You heard that phrase, if you're going to come at the king, you best not miss. You did. And now we're getting in there. We're going to be able to open up every single manila file folder and look inside and see what you guys were up to. So every abuse, every charge that was brought that shouldn't have been brought should be investigated. And the people who swore an oath to be prosecutors should be held to higher standards, right? Their partisanship, their bias, their anti-Trump hatred, their mania, TDS lunacy should all be under control if you're going to be in this position. That's why you get a stupid little badge and you call yourself an officer and all this crap, okay? You should act and we should demand better. And all those people that fell below the line, they should be in the scope of this prosecution and fleshed out.
I'm impressed that those prosecutors, those Jack Smith career prosecutors, stayed. I mean, they knew this kind of heat was coming in their direction.
Yeah, and what law firms are going to want to hire those people too, by the way, just to be clear on that. Okay, they're going to have 4 years of the DOJ remembering who these people are. And we're going to remember them too. We're not forgetting who they are. They were part of it. They don't get to say, oh, we were just like appointed. We were just doing our jobs, whatever. No, you were not. You were part of a reckless legal gang and you lost.
They could have decided weeks ago, you know what? I'm going to get myself to the safety of a law firm in private practice as soon as possible. They stayed, indicating to me they wanted to stay in this department and still try to do the work in this department.
I mean, these people believe in the mission of the Department of Justice. They believe in that very old-fashioned institution of the rule of law, and they want to be part of it. A lot of them also...
No, they don't. Jack Smith's not even legitimate. He's not even a real prosecutor. Talk about rule of law. The whole case was corrupted from the inception.
Maybe a year or two away from earning their federal retirement after devoting their entire careers to federal prosecution.
That is icing on the cake. They were just, a couple of them were just years away from their federal pensions. Oh, that stinks.
And it's scandalous what's taking place against the career prosecutors. We're not talking about, Joe Biden appointees. We're talking about people who went in there just to enforce the rule of law.
No, and they volunteered to be on Jack Smith's team so that they could go be a part of the entourage that took out Trump, that made history. Okay, they were all in there, not like begrudging, oh gosh, we have to go prosecute Trump. This was their whole life for years. This was going to make them nationally renowned names. They would all be on the TV shows all over the place. They lost, so their careers are wrecked. And they took a gamble, and they lost. And it was an unethical gamble, and they know better than this. And other prosecutors who are honest about it know the same. So Raskin seems freaked. they're getting nervous because who is coming in? It's going to be Kash Patel, and he scares them to death. So let's talk about Kash, because we've got this new letter. Democrats are freaked. Kash Patel now going to be leading the FBI so long as he can get confirmed, and they're doing everything they can to try to stop that from happening. This is Dick Durban, who leads the Senate Judiciary Democrats, and they posted this letter. It looks like a scary letter. I looked at this like, oh my gosh, is there something bad about Kash Patel that we don't know? The Democrats say there is. Let's see what's inside. So he says, if true, Kash Patel potentially risked the safety of Americans for his own personal notoriety. And this is disqualifying behavior. All right, so we'll read it. It's actually hilarious that this is all they've got. I think that Kash Patel is going to squeeze through even more gracefully than we thought. But we've got this letter, and then we've got reaction because John Bolton was out with Jen Psaki, remember her? And others are really panicked about this. In fact, even these senators are starting a podcast. They're going to try to compete with Ted Cruz's podcast. So we got to make sure that we support Ted Cruz's podcast, because make sure you subscribe. Somebody please subscribe, because we got to beat these guys. So as we can see, here's the letter that has been now released for all of America to see. The horrors of Kash Patel from the Democrats. This went over to Hegseth. This went over to Rubio. This went over to acting director of the FBI, Brian Driscoll, and acting secretary of the Treasury from the Judiciary senators. Signed here by Richard Dick Durban. Also copied to Chuck Grassley, the chairman on the Senate committee. They say, all right, guys, I have received highly credible information revealing that while serving as Trump's National Security Counsel, Kash Patel broke protocol regarding hostage rescues. What'd he do? By publicly commenting without authorization on the then in progress retrieval process. He made a public comment about this. You're kidding. Wow. Allegedly, right? If this is even true. On October 14th, the Wall Street Journal published comments from Patel several hours before they were confirmed to be in U.S. custody. This is during Trump's first term. Someone asked, hey, are they coming back? He says, yeah, they're coming back. Illegal. That's it. In the wake of multiple failed hostage recovery missions, there was a group housed with communicating. There were protocols in place to protect the privacy of these people. The information my office received says that Patel inserted himself inappropriately into this mission and violated these protocols. And he had no role in the planning in any of this. So the source also says there was no public comment allowed until after recovery complete. And so now he's going to be leading the FBI. And we have to review character and fitness to ensure we can trust him. And since he made a comment about a hostage recovery mission, we can't be so sure. And so please let us know. What were the recovery protocols? Give us all records from these dates. What happened about the rescue of these two people? Blah, blah, blah from Dick Durban. It's like, that's it. That's what you guys have on Kash Patel, is a public comment to the Wall Street Journal. If you think that some sort of a leak to the media is consequential, half the Biden administration should be in jail because of Jake Sullivan and Karine and John Kirby and Anthony Blinken. This is pathetic. They don't have anything on this guy. So they dig up some comment to the Wall Street Journal. It's really weak. Now, you can also see John Bolton came out. He went on with Jen Psaki, her hit show on MSNBC called Inside Jen Psaki, as you can see down there in the comment in the logo. Here is their conversation. Just a little bit of this. I know there's only so much we can take of these two. But the Walrus came out. They're freaked about Kash Patel. Here's what they sound like.
And by speaking publicly about it. And as I just noted, and you know very well from being a part of these discussions and the small group of people around the president who are in the know, these are very highly sensitive negotiations within any administration, Democratic or Republican. And so I just wanted to ask you, you've obviously expressed your concern about Patel previously, but given this whistleblower report, given what we've learned about his role in these reporting around these hostage negotiations, do you think members of the committee, Republicans especially, should be concerned about these pieces.
Yes, I think this is really stunning news, assuming it's true and the committee will want to verify that, Kash Patel or anybody else made statements about an operation so sensitive before it was concluded. And by the way, it wouldn't necessarily have been Kash Patel that would make it public in any case. And I think it demonstrates characteristics that he's shown in other aspects of his career, and particularly then in the Niger rescue of American hostage that you also recounted, that Mark Esper wrote about in his book. It shows Patel taking roles and making statements that are completely beyond the scope of what NSC staff should be doing.
All right, so they're mad about his public comments, and he's going to sit there and rant about that for a little while. We don't need to listen to it anymore. Seems to me he's just upset that Kash Patel is going to be getting a security clearance back and is going to be getting some security protection as well that Bolton is sorely missing. So these guys are now having a podcast. Chris Murphy has been coming out hard. I think he's trying to set himself up as a presidential contender. So just be on the lookout for that. He's really being very aggressive and trying to, I think, start a podcast now. As you can see, he's kind of in the middle here. He's like, okay, you sit over here, Corey. Look at me like this. You sit over here. I think is that Schatz? I think that is Schatz, isn't it? From sometimes, yeah, I think that might be Schatz from Hawaii. But so they have a podcast now going, trying to compete with Ted Cruz. We're not going to let him beat Ted Cruz, though. We're going to keep Ted Cruz and his podcast ahead of theirs.
Donald Trump said during the campaign that the number one enemy of the United States is what he called the enemy within. Kash Patel believes the exact same thing.
Sweet.
And you can choose to believe that Trump was lying, right? And there's a chance that he was exaggerating. But you can also look at all the things that have happened since he said that, including the nomination of Kash Patel to be the head of the FBI, and come to the conclusion that that's actually what we're watching happen, is our government decide that the number one enemy isn't China or Russia or Al-Qaeda or bank robbers or murderers or arsonists, but the political opposition.
What? He's saying that Trump's going to go after his political opponents? They prosecuted him criminally 4 times and tried to throw him off the ballot. So they're trying to figure out their messaging. Here's one more from Schiff. I know we got a lot of these knuckleheads here, or worse than that. But here is Shifty Schiff. Again, they're all freaked. So when I see stuff like this, there's a pattern, right? They all got the memo. They all go out and they just start barking up the trees. Kash Patel, he's coming up on Thursday.
But it is a enormously powerful position where you want someone of stature, someone of independence, someone of character, someone, frankly, like Christopher Wray, who I didn't always agree with, but had all of those attributes. The last person you want is someone like Kash Patel, because in addition to being dishonest, untrustworthy, lacking in character, all the things that you went through, his only real qualification is he was the guy in the first Trump administration that you went to when no one else would do the dirty work the president wanted done. He was the guy, and he therefore rose very quickly through the ranks.
It's funny how he's talking about himself, right? When they tried to smear Trump the first time, he was the guy on the Intelligence Committee who was lying to everybody. He got censured for that, and his neck is still tiny relative to his head. So that is Senator Pencil-Neck Schiff, who's in love with Christopher Wray, who is one of the most corrupt directors we've seen in modern history. But now we also have this story from Steve Friend. Now, Steve Friend is an FBI whistleblower, and he's reporting the following. He's saying the acting attorney general ordered the FBI to assist ICE with their deportations, help them get criminals out of our country. Steve says, I've been told that agents are calling in sick. FBI's got a case of the old blue flu, to protest the directive. Steve says, we got to confirm Kash Patel forthwith to root this subterfuge out. Here's a letter. Memo for all law enforcement officials from the acting attorney general. Says on January 22nd, the acting Department of Homeland Security authorized law enforcement officials at the U.S. Marshal, DEA, ATF, FBI to perform the functions of immigration officers. law enforcement officials at those DOJ components are thereby granted and conferred the authority to execute those powers and those functions. And so FBI agents, guess what? You're now deputized. You can investigate and apprehend any alien who's in violation of the law, and you can enforce any of these statutes as well. And so pursuant to the lawful authority of the acting attorney general, I hereby consent and approve of this conferral of authority from Homeland all the way to all of you, FBI, Bureau of Prisons, DEA, ATF, not playing around. As the acting secretary memo noted and reaffirmed, employees at the FBI have already been lawfully granted the authority, and therefore, this memo reaffirms that such employees at the FBI have this authority and may and should continue to execute this authority. FBI agents, go after the criminal illegal aliens. Please and thank you. They're not doing it. Apparently, some of them have the blue flu. We're sick. Gonna take our paid vacation. Thanks for caring about your country. They only care about rounding up the J6ers and pro-life activists and Catholics in their churches. This delegation of authority is in addition to any existing authorities conferred upon the law, and it should not be construed to adjust any other prior grants of authority. So the Trump administration is not playing around, deputizing everybody who's coming in. And Kash is not the only one who's going to be facing a tough confirmation battle. We see that Democrats and people on MSNBC are fuming mad over RFK Jr., who's going to be here tomorrow. And we're going to be listening to those confirmation hearings live together. Thank you for subscribing and joining us tomorrow morning when we go live. So here's a little bit on what MSNBC is reporting.
Australia in November, but as she lays out in this letter to lawmakers, she did not want to get involved in having to discuss the lives and challenges that her family members face, but felt compelled to do so because of how well she knows RFK and what she knows about public health as well, having served and participated in some of the public efforts around vaccination and public health. She not only lists some of his challenges early on in his career, but says that he is essentially, she calls him a hypocrite for advocating that families of sick children not vaccinate their children while his children are vaccinated. She also says that he seeks to enrich himself through propagating some of these anti-vaccine beliefs, such as refusing to recuse himself from a lawsuit that he's filed against the HPV vaccine, citing a New York Times report that the Washington Post has not independently confirmed.
Yeah, Kennedy's trying to enrich himself by telling you not to get something, right? Not the other people who are mandating that you buy their product while you simultaneously immunize them from any consequences or harms brought upon you by that very product. Pretty amazing. So you can see RFK Jr. Is also going to be getting some support, I think, from Rand Paul, because Rand Paul has committed to voting for him. But in addition to that, he wants to root out the nefariousness that existed at the NIH and the NIAID responsible for the COVID situation. Rand reported this, says, in the wake of Fauci's preemptive pardon, there are still questions to be answered. For example, who at the NIH directed funds to the Wuhan Institute of Virology? And why was the proposal not scrutinized by the P3CO Safety Committee? For 4 years, says Rand, I have requested records from the NIH and other agencies on all deliberations regarding the decision to skip oversight by the safety committee only to be stonewalled. So, therefore, today, Rand says, I am announcing subpoenas were sent from the committee to the NIH and 13 other agencies regarding their involvement in risky gain-of-function research. The goal of the investigation will be to critique the process that allowed for this dangerous research to occur that may have led to the pandemic to occur in a foreign country under unsafe protocols, and to ensure that there is sufficient oversight and review going forward, making sure a mistake of this magnitude never happens again. And so, Kash Patel, RFK Jr., knives are out for them. Tulsi Gabbard's next on deck. We'll be here, of course, covering it. Thanks for subscribing and joining as we do. Now, we're continuing with Congress because Congress is not playing around either right now. Sanctuary city mayors, mostly Democrats, are now getting subpoenas from the Oversight Committee and James Comer. You know this guy, Mayor Brandon Johnson, right here, who runs the city of Chicago, poorly, I might add, is joined by Mayor Adams, all getting subpoenas, along with 4 others, all Democrats across the country. New York City, Denver, and Boston, saying, I'm launching the GOP oversight investigation into sanctuary cities. I'm calling on the mayors of Boston, Chicago, Denver, and New York City to testify publicly at an oversight hearing on February 11, 2025, coming soon. These sanctuary cities have refused to cooperate with federal immigration enforcement and U.S. immigration laws. On his first day in office, James Comer says, President Trump took decisive actions to restore the rule of law. It is now imperative that our immigration laws are enforced across the country and that criminal aliens are swiftly removed from our communities. Now, this is one of the letters that was sent over to Mayor Eric Adams, who was indicted by the Biden DOJ. He told Tucker Carlson, according to him, it was because he was not being a good Democrat. He was upset that they were ransacking his city and filling it full of illegal aliens. So he is slowly, I think, maybe becoming Team MAGA. Don't know that he'll ever go that far, but he's sort of realizing there's a better way to do all this, I think. So we'll see where he goes. But he's getting a letter from the Oversight Committee. It says, all right, dear Mayor Adams, guess what? The Committee on Oversight and Government Reform is investigating sanctuary cities across the United States and how you guys impact public safety and the effective enforcement of federal immigration laws, saying sanctuary cities and their misguided and obstructionist policies hinder the ability of federal law enforcement officers to conduct safe arrests and remove criminals. Now, New York City is a sanctuary jurisdiction that refuses to fully cooperate with feds. To provide much needed oversight, the committee is now requesting documents from you, and we invite you to testify at a public hearing on February 11th. Saying, sanctuary jurisdictions are states, counties, or cities that put some limits on how they're going to cooperate with the feds. These jurisdictions take it upon themselves to decide what laws they will and will not enforce. Those are about 12 states and hundreds of cities now with sanctuary laws, but 4 cities stand out for their abject failure to comply with federal law: Chicago, New York, Denver, and Boston. Citizens of all 4 cities have suffered due to what you've done. Now, Chicago is a sanctuary city. Also, here, Chicago, the welcoming ordinance prevents local officials from arresting or detaining people. And Mayor Brandon Johnson also reaffirmed his commitment to this. He says, we're going to keep it a sanctuary city. The FBI has a database, but you guys will not corroborate your databases, right? There are some jails, you call it an ICE hold, right? If an illegal alien gets picked up on some other crime, they'll do let's say they do an ICE check. They say, hey, we have this guy. Is he a citizen or not? ICE will say, no, he is not. Hold him. Oh, you have an ICE hold, so you cannot be released. But there are jails and cities, right, that refuse that, say you cannot do that type of communication so people can come and go as they please without being detained. New York City is a sanctuary jurisdiction as well, under several city code provisions that prohibit law enforcement from honoring an immigration detainer or notifying federal immigration authorities of an alien's release, except under very narrow circumstances, like don't tell the feds we got this guy. And this is very common. Further, New York City is subject to the provisions of additional sanctuary policies under executive orders by Cuomo, which directs state employees saying you cannot disclose information to federal immigration enforcement, okay? Specifically, do not cooperate with the feds. So why do they get any federal money? Kind of a thing, right? Why are we playing that game? Maybe they're not going to. Denver is a sanctuary jurisdiction under Colorado law. Mike Johnson, the mayor, confirmed he was prepared to go to jail to protect illegal aliens from federal immigration authorities. Well, I'm sure we can arrange that. Boston is another sanctuary jurisdiction under the Boston Trust Act, which is the Boston City Council voted unanimously to reaffirm. Boston is also subject to the Massachusetts judicial precedent finding ICE detainers are an unlawful exercise of state power. Mayor Michelle Wu reiterated Boston's status as a sanctuary city shortly after the election. Unfortunately for them, on the first day, Trump took decisive action to restore the rule of law. One action included a directive from the AG and Homeland to evaluate and undertake any lawful action, says the president, to ensure that so-called sanctuary cities, which seek to interfere with the lawful exercise of federal enforcement, boom, there it is, do not receive access to federal funds. In addition to the efforts of the Trump administration to ensure federal immigration enforcement can proceed unimpeded, Congress must determine whether further legislation is necessary to enhance this safety. It's imperative that our federal law is enforced and that criminal aliens are removed from our committees. And so to assist with this, we request the following documents. All documents and communications from everybody about the city's sanctuary status. All documents among or between all official employees and the city of New York. All documents between New York City employees, contractors, and the state, right? So the city and the state. All documents between the city and the feds. In addition, please confirm your testimony before the Oversight and Government Reform Committee on February 4th. Remember, we've got broad authority to investigate all of this. And so to arrange for these documents, please contact our office to arrange for that to happen. Sincerely, your friend, James Comer. And so my apologies. These were not subpoenas, okay, at all. These are just requests for letters. And it's an invitation. I'm calling on them to appear. So not a subpoena. I wish it was a subpoena, but it's not. I was hopefully wishing for a subpoena, but it's not. They're just letters. Come and testify. Let us have some documents if you want, whatever. Maybe show up or don't. But here's what the letter to Johnson looks like. It's the same thing. Chicago is a sanctuary jurisdiction. Same letter. Denver's the same thing. It's a copy and paste letter. This one went over to Mike Johnson of Chicago. So definitely not subpoenas, just like, invitations. Here's what Johnson says in response to the new immigration adjustments.
We will continue to protect civil and human rights, and we welcome all individuals and families who want to work, live, and thrive here in our beloved city. The Welcoming City Ordinance is a law, and it is the law of the land here in Chicago. We will uphold it, along with the complementary Illinois Trust Act, to ensure that our immigrant communities are safe. Furthermore, we intend to continue to empower all of our communities throughout our city with crucial information and resources at this time. On the city's website, chicago.gov, we offer a Know Your Rights resource guide providing all information, tools, and context that our immigrant communities should know. The full force of government from my office, city departments, as well as
Let's get right to
all right, so sounds like they have a little insurrection guide on how to evade federal immigration authorities, which makes them co-conspirators in breaking federal law. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe James Comer will send a subpoena. If they don't get them the letters, we generally see that happens. A first request, a second request, a demand, and then a subpoena. We'll see if we're at the beginning stages of that. But we're not waiting around. Tom Homan is responding to the media, who is now saying that he is mistreating these poor people who have broken the law in our country. Here's what Tom Homan says in response.
Are you treating migrants humanely?
Yes.
But there's been reports of them on planes with no water,
That was a bunch of
complaining.
crap. That was a bunch of crap.
What do you mean a bunch of crap?
ICE detention facilities have the highest detention standards in the industry. Any of the ICE standards, our detention standards are higher than any state or federal or local facility in the nation, in the world. Someone should go to the ICE website, look at PBNDS 11, performance-based detention standards, and look at our detention standards, highest in the industry.
But are you sure you're only getting illegal criminal migrants? I mean, there were some pictures over the weekend of people that claim to be students, Brazilian students, who were showing examples of bruises on their arms from American deportation flights.
That's ridiculous, but if they want to make a complaint, it'll be investigated.
But your assurance is what?
The men and women of ICE are professionals. We do this for a living. And I can tell you, I ran ICE for years. I was the first director of ICE came up through the ranks. Again, these men and women are professional, highest attention standards in the industry. We take care of these people. But we're going to enforce the law, and we're not going to apologize for doing it. And
you're going to do it in a sort of public way with, do you need to use the big military planes? Is that part of a sort of shock and awe tactic? They haven't been used before, have they, for migrants?
No, we got President Trump. We're going to use all the government to secure our border, which is the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. And we're going to enforce laws in this country. It's not okay to enter this country illegally. It's a crime. And when you cause a crisis as big as the Biden administration caused, when you overwhelm the Border Patrol, but they can't do their national security job, that's when the fentanyl come across, kill 250,000 Americans. That's when you have a 600% increase in sex trafficking. That's when you have a record number of no-inspected terrorists coming across an open border. President Trump's going to secure the border as promised to the American people. We're going to enforce immigration laws. That's what we're going to do, without apology. We're on board. We're going to go forward. And you're going to see it get a hell of a lot bigger in the near future.
A lot bigger in the near future. And so will her tears, constantly crying. You're going to use the big, scary military airplanes? Yeah! We're loading them up. Planes on planes on planes. All right, so here was more Tom Homan because the man's just amazing. So we were waiting for the crying celebrities. We were wondering if it was going to be AOC again. She tried that the last time. Remember, with her white little outfit hanging from the chain link fences? We're like, what are you crying over, AOC? Do you spill something on your outfit or something? What's your problem? So it just took a couple days, and then we've got this woman, Selena Gomez, who's crying about illegal aliens who broke the law being deported. Tom Homan doesn't really care, Margaret.
I don't know if you've had a chance to see a video that has been going viral over the past hour or so. We're still working to clear it and show it. In fact, the Hollywood celebrity who posted it has now deleted it, I think because probably she faced a lot of backlash for it, noting even the New York Times and Fox News polls show that a majority of American respondents are in favor of deportations of criminals and gang members. She posted a video sobbing. She was crying in it. She said, "All my people are getting attacked." With the picture of a Mexican flag. Again, she has now taken that down. But what do you say to those who are out there saying that these are everyday people, these are families that are being attacked and dragged out of their homes? How do you respond to that?
I don't think we arrested any families. We've arrested public safety threats and national security threats, bottom line. And look, President Trump won the election on this one issue, securing our border and saving lives. What happened on our southern border last 4 years is the biggest national security threat this country's seen, at least in my lifetime, because we got over 2 million known gotaways. We got a 600% increase in sex trafficking. We got a record number of terrorists crossing the border on the terrorist watch list. We have 250,000 Americans die from fentanyl coming across the open border. We're going to do this job, and we're going to enforce the laws of this country. If they don't like it, then go to Congress and change the law. We're going to do this operational apology. We're going to make our community safer. We're going to save. Once we lock that border on continuous operation, you're going to see fentanyl deaths decrease, illegal alien crime decrease, sex trafficking decrease. It's just all for the good of this nation, and we're going to keep going. No apologies. We're moving forward.
Let's go, Tom Homan, not playing around. It is for the good of the nation. And what's interesting is the normal routine, the normal hyperventilating, right? The normal crying, oh, you're the families and students, and where's your heart? No one cares. J.D. Vance said it best. I don't really care, Margaret. Okay, we might have cared 10, 15, 20 years ago, but what has happened has been so devastating. We really don't have the time or the capacity for the humanity, okay? You broke the system so badly. We're in dire straits, and now we need dire action, and that's what we're getting. Good stuff there. All right, and so we also have the update from the new press secretary. Competence back in the press briefing room. Karoline Leavitt delivered her very first press briefing and hit it out of the park, as you would expect. She's been doing this for quite a while, and anybody who stepped into this position after Karine Jean-Pierre, I mean, come on, it's kind of an easy level up. But she did an amazing job nonetheless. And what's so fun about this is we're also being introduced to this new account called Rapid Response 47, an official government account run by some very competent folks who are responding to the lies brought forward by the Democrats, and there are going to be a lot of them over these next 4 years. They're already trying to figure out how to deal with the Trump onslaught, and they're arming up as we speak. So we'll go through several of the highlights here, and we'll see what the senators had to say in response to Trump's most recent executive orders and updates. But one of the big questions on the day has been about the cutting, or let's say the pausing, of about $3 trillion in government grants, loans, and spending that nobody really knows where it goes or what it does, all been paused. And we're in favor of a pause. They, remember, should be okay with this. They said that the government said our businesses were paused for just 14 days. Not a big deal. Just relax, you guys. Everything will be back in 14 days. We just have to slow the spread so we can get a handle on this thing. It's kind of the same concept. So 14 days, let's say, just to pause the flow of corrupt money, and then their corruption, might be able to get back on track. It's just 14 days. We'll come back. We'll reevaluate it in 14 days and we'll see. But here is Karoline responding, saying there's still going to be assistance. Okay, individual and direct assistance will continue on. So just relax about it. But the other programs like DEI, Green New Scam, Wokeness, and all those other entities, they're going away.
This is not a blanket pause on federal assistance and grant programs from the Trump administration. Individual assistance, that includes, I'm not naming everything that's included, but just to give you a few examples, Social Security benefits, Medicare benefits, food stamps, welfare benefits, assistance that is going directly to individuals will not be impacted by this pause. And I want to make that very clear to any Americans who are watching at home who may be a little bit confused about some of the media reporting. This administration, if you are receiving individual assistance from the federal government, you will still continue to receive that. However, it is the responsibility of this president and this administration to be good stewards of taxpayer dollars.
Yes.
That is something that President Trump campaigned on. That's why he has launched DOJ, the Department of Government Efficiency, who is working alongside OMB. And that's why OMB sent out this memo last night, because the president signed an executive order directing OMB to do just this. And the reason for this is to ensure that every penny that is going out the door is not conflicting with the executive orders and actions that this president has taken. So what does this pause mean? It means no more funding for illegal DEI programs. It means no more funding for the Green New Scam that has cost American taxpayers tens of billions of dollars. It means no more funding for transgenderism and wokeness across our federal bureaucracy and agencies. No more funding for Green New Deal social engineering policies. Again, people who are receiving individual assistance, you will continue to receive that. And President Trump is looking out for you by issuing this pause because he is being good steward of your taxpayer dollars.
Right on. And what's going to be interesting about this is to see who abided by the pause. Right, the pause is supposed to go into effect today, 5 p.m. Eastern time. It's in effect. Which people in the federal bureaucracy cashed that check after 5:01? Who wrote that check? Who sent in that invoice at 5:02? Ooh, I hope we get their names, because they're all in violation of the president's order. And they're going to poke their heads up, right? All the people who are going to be screaming about this, where's my money? Ah! They're all going to be screaming about it, as the left is right now, and they're identifying who they are. One of them is New York Attorney General James. Already screaming about this. She already released a video, because that's basically what she does. Says, my office will be taking imminent legal action against this administration's unconstitutional pause on federal funding. Huh? We won't sit idly by while this administration harms our families, like she has done any good for the families of New York. That's amazing. She also was giving a press briefing. She said, this administration has unleashed mayhem with its latest illegal action. It's affecting seniors on Medicaid, which they're saying is a lie. It doesn't actually, explicitly, because that's an individual benefit. These chaos cuts jeopardize resources that millions of Americans rely on. And so she's going to be bringing together a coalition of AGs and sue Trump to save their essential services all across the country. And the Democrats are freaked about this. They had a whole press briefing today. Rapid Response said, you guys are wrong as usual, okay? Is this a freeze? This is from the president's office. Is this a freeze on benefits to Americans like SNAP or student loans? No. AOC's spreading fake lie news. Trump shut off Medicaid. Wrong. No, he didn't. No, any program that provides direct benefits to Americans is explicitly excluded from the pause and exempted from this review process. In addition to Social Security and Medicare, already explicitly excluded in the guidance, if you could read AOC, mandatory programs like Medicaid and SNAP will continue without pause. Funds for small businesses, farmers, Pell Grants, Head Start, rental assistance, and other similar programs will not be paused. If agencies are concerned that these programs may implicate the executive orders, they should consult with OMB to begin to unwind these objectionable policies without a pause in the payments. Okay, so wind it up. So just relax, AOC. Stop your lies. Actually read it before you talk about it. But they're so fixated and attached to the government money teat that they can't help it except explode when their money funds are starting to evaporate. So they'll be unhappy about that. But we got more from Karoline Leavitt. She was here taking questions from the media today. The room was jam-packed. Here's another exchange with the press.
Miller. Thanks, Karoline. A question that we've asked your predecessors of both parties in this job. When you're up here in this briefing room speaking to the American public, do you view yourself and your role as speaking on, advocating on behalf of the president, or providing the unvarnished truth that is, not to lie, not to obfuscate to the American people?
I commit to telling the truth from this podium every single day. I commit to speaking on behalf of the President of the United States. That is my job. And I will say it's very easy to speak truth from this podium when you have a president who is implementing policies that are wildly popular with the American people. And that's exactly what this administration is doing. It's correcting the lies and the wrongs of the past 4 years, many of the lies that have been told to your faces in this very briefing room. I will not do that. But since you brought up Truth Seek, I would like to point out, while I vowed to provide the truth from this podium, we ask that all of you in this room hold yourselves to that same standard.
Yes.
We know for a fact there have been lies that have been pushed by many legacy media outlets in this country about this
like
president,
you,
about his family, and we will not accept that. We will call you out when we feel that your reporting is wrong or there is misinformation about this White House. So yes, I will hold myself to the truth, and I expect everyone in this room to do the same.
Dang! That was a good answer. Man, I kind of felt like she was kind of like a motherly figure, kind of like lecturing them. Like, you're going to behave yourselves in here, or else we're going to call you out. So a nice answer from her. We're looking forward to it, and I do hope they call the media out because they deserve it, especially this guy. Says, this one clipped over from us from Eric Dougherty on X at Eric L. Dow, sharing the exchange with this reporter.
Start with the criminals. There are many, many criminals. NBC News has learned that ICE arrested 1,179 undocumented immigrants on Sunday, but nearly half of them, 566 of the migrants, appear to have no prior criminal record besides entering the country illegally. Is the president still focused exclusively, which is a civil crime, it's not criminal?
It's a federal crime.
So I'm asking, though, he said he was going to focus on those violent offenders first. So is violent offenders no longer the predicate for these people to be deported?
The president has said countless times on the campaign trail, I've been with him at the rallies, I know you've been there covering them too, Peter, that he is focused on launching the largest mass deportation operation in American history of illegal criminals. And if you are an individual, a foreign national, who illegally enters the United States of America, you are, by definition, a criminal. And so therefore, you are subject to deportation.
I apologize for interrupting. So to be clear, it's not violent criminals do not receive precedence in terms of the deportations taking place.
The president has also said two things can be true at the same time. We want to deport illegal criminals, illegal immigrants from this country, but the president has said that, of course, the illegal criminal drug dealers, the rapists, the murderers, the individuals who have committed heinous acts on the interior of our country and who have terrorized law-abiding American citizens, absolutely, those should be the priority of ICE, but that doesn't mean that the other illegal criminals who entered our nation's borders are off the table.
Understood. Then let me ask you a separate question about the confusion.
It's interesting to get answers from her on this, and the substance is solid, right? This is not an either-or situation. You're arresting the criminals, and that includes the violent criminals and the less than violent criminals. Anybody who's in the country illegally is gone. It's not that complicated. So more from Karoline Leavitt. Here was another exchange. She gives us some details on this drone situation. You remember the drones. Now they're telling us they were our drones and other people's private drones. And the Biden administration knew what they were the whole time. They just wanted to keep us quiet. I don't know what they are. John Kirby up there and Karine up there. I have to refer you to Homeland Security. Gonna have to refer you to White House counsel. We didn't hear that today. Have to refer you to White House counsel. White House counsel. Have to refer you to the White House counsel's office. I can't comment on anything the president does because I'm Karine. And I'm not capable of that. Oh, okay. Next question. Here's the question about the drones.
And before I turn to questions, I do have news directly from the President of the United States that was just shared with me in the Oval Office. From President Trump directly, an update on the New Jersey drones. After research and study, the drones that were flying over New Jersey in large numbers were authorized to be flown by the FAA for research and various other reasons. Many of these drones were also hobbyists, recreational, and private individuals that enjoy flying drones. In time, it got worse due to curiosity. This was not the enemy.
This was not the enemy. Watching that little face there.
This was not the enemy.
All right. So, okay. Then they were ours. And the question is, what were they looking for? What were they doing? What were they experimenting with? Were they looking for radioactive materials or COVID-2? Just like that movie with that bomb that one time? All right. So that's Karoline. And here's one final exchange. This is exciting news for those of us who'd like the independent media to have a little bit more access to the White House. Independent bloggers, podcasters, social media influencers can now apply for credentials at the White House.
And in keeping with this revolutionary media approach that President Trump deployed during the campaign, the Trump White House will speak to all media outlets and personalities, not just the legacy media who are seated in this room.
Good.
Because according to recent polling from Gallup, Americans' trust in mass media has fallen to a record low. Millions of Americans, especially young people, have turned from traditional television outlets and newspapers to consume their news from podcasts, blogs, social media, and other independent outlets. It's essential to our team that we share President Trump's message everywhere and adapt this White House to the new media landscape in 2025. To do this, I am excited to announce the following changes will be made to this historic James S. Brady briefing room, where Mr. Brady's legacy will endure. This White House believes strongly in the First Amendment, so it's why our team will work diligently to restore the press passes of the 440 journalists whose passes were wrongly revoked by the previous administration. We're also opening up this briefing room to new media voices who produce news-related content and whose outlet is not already represented by one of the seats in this room. We welcome independent journalists, podcasters, social media influencers, and content creators to apply for credentials to cover this White House.
Yeah.
And you can apply now on our new website, whitehouse.gov.
Whitehouse.gov.
/new media.
/new media. All right,
Starting
perfect.
today, this seat in the front of the room, which is usually occupied by the press secretary's staff, will be called the new media seat. My team will review the applications and give credentials to new media applicants who meet our criteria and pass United States Secret Service requirements to enter the White House complex. So in light of these announcements, our first questions for today's briefing will go to these new media members whose outlets, despite being some of the most viewed news websites in the country, have not been given seats in this room.
All right, my friends. So we're going to have to brainstorm the very first question that we'll be able to ask to this new administration. One might be, Miss Leavitt, when is Liz Cheney going to be arrested? Are the raids happening this morning or tomorrow? Any idea? Every day. Is Liz Cheney being arrested today? She's not. Okay. Any reason why? All right, I'll see you tomorrow. All right. So anyways, fun stuff. The administration sure is changing, and we're happy about that because other people actually ask real questions that we care about. It's not this patty cake game between the elected class and the media class all serving themselves. So we got good updates there. Shout out to Karoline Leavitt for doing a great job. While that was happening, Senate Republicans came out and they're talking about their agenda. They're talking about the latest with the pausing of the money as well as the confirmation hearings. And so let's check out what they had to say with this short update at the Capitol today.
Good afternoon. Today finds the Democrats in disarray, and we're going to find out here real soon whether that disarray extends to abandoning the defense of Israel and, frankly, the defense of America when it comes to an unlawful court that the United States and Israel are not members of. We know for sure in the past that the International Criminal Court has targeted American soldiers, and if we don't take a stand against that now, they will do it again. And so I want to thank Senators Risch and Cotton for their leadership on this issue. You'll hear from them more about that in just a moment. The other issue, as we all know, on the floor these days is nominations. And as you all know, the Democrats made a big deal and blocked the nomination of John Radcliffe to CIA last week. Ultimately, he ended up getting 74 votes on the floor, and that's going to be the case. I mean, they can block these votes, but these folks, we're going to continue to press on and get them confirmed, and they can do this the hard way or the easy way. If they want to continue to obstruct and delay, we're going to continue to grind and grind and grind, and we'll do that through the weekend if necessary. So I'm hopeful, particularly on these noms that we know have broad bipartisan support that have come out of the committees with big margins, that they allow the president to get his people into place so that he can implement his agenda. And we will work with him to make sure that that happens. And so I'm going to flip it now to our colleague, Senator Risch.
Thank you very much, Leader. First of all, you will recall that President Trump placed sanctions on the ICC before he left office. President Biden immediately took those off. Ever since then, as ranking member and now chair of the Foreign Relations Committee, I've been working to put those sanctions back on. I want to thank Senator Thune for his leadership, Senator Cotton for his leadership and help on this important issue. It's been very well near a full year since the Democrats obstructed this bill, and I'm glad that Republicans in both the House and the Senate and the White House are taking action to protect American sovereignty, the sovereignty of American citizens and the rights of our ally Israel. Better yet, I'm glad a sizable number of House Democrats voted for this bill not once but twice. I expect we'll see Democrat support here in the Senate as well. How much remains to be seen. When the International Criminal Court issued arrest warrants for Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his former defense minister defending their country against brutal attack, the ICC greatly exceeded its mandate. This move was clearly political. It's just another example of politicization and anti-Semitism that has become endemic across a number of international organizations. The first objective of a court of justice is to recognize right from wrong. The ICC greatly fell down on that, on what is incumbent upon them. Any entity that would put the leader of Hamas and the leader of Israel in the same bucket and treat them the same doesn't know right from wrong. This needs to end. It's past time for us to pass this legislation and sanction those responsible for this decision and show the ICC that it won't tolerate, we won't tolerate the corruption there. Thank you very much.
Okay. I think Senator Cotton is on the floor, obviously, with this issue. So a couple quick questions.
Leader Thune. Thank you. Like running four corners offense. On this memo from the OMB here, I mean, do you expect Republicans, and I'd be curious about some of your colleagues here, do you expect Republicans to say, okay, this is the executive branch, or draw a line in the sand and say this is the legislative branch, we have the power of the purse, we're going to push back on that, we're going to protect our prerogatives? Do you think this is a dangerous situation to have the administration try to claim so much power so quickly without clarity over administration, over the public?
Well, I think great question, asking essentially about the separation of powers. And we have this Democratic Party that's going to learn a lot about that concept in the coming days, screaming, we're Congress, we've got the power of the purse. You have to do what we tell you to do. If we give you money, you have to spend it exactly how we want you to spend it, which means the Congress is the president, right? That's not how our system works. There's a separation of powers here. They can pass a bunch of money, but if they're going to try to take their grubby little fingers and shove it up the executive's booty and order it around like a puppet, that is not going to happen. And here's Thune.
They are clarifying it, and I think this is not unusual for an administration to pause funding and to take a hard look and scrub of how these programs, how they're being spent, and how they interact with a lot of the executive orders that the president signed. And I think that's the main criteria they're using is, does this implicate, do the executive orders implicate funding in this particular way? They have taken certain things, I think, off the table. Some of you have asked specifically about programs, any program that directly benefits an individual, Medicaid, SNAP, those types of programs are unimpacted by this. What is impacted, obviously, is DEI, the Green New Deal, things like that. And so those are in direct contradiction with the EOs the president signed earlier this week. So they're providing
the Green New Deal involve major infrastructure projects.
And they're providing additional clarity and guidance on that. And hopefully they will further clarify what exactly will be impacted by this. But I don't think it's unusual for an administration to pause. They certainly did that. Biden did that in 2021 with respect to funding for the border wall. But I think, Senator Risch, did you want to speak to that?
Well, very briefly. Look at this from a 50,000-foot standpoint to begin with. For all of you who haven't noticed, this is a different day in Washington, D.C. The President of the United States wants to do something about inflation. Where does inflation start? It starts at government overspending, and particularly when it's deficit spending. We're going in debt $1 trillion every 100 days. The best way to start going after inflation is to ratchet that back. What he has said is, let's pause for 90 days. This is a work in progress.
To slow the spread.
Everybody take a deep breath, stay calm. Every one of these programs is going to be looked at. He didn't say, well, we're going to do a 2-year study, blah, blah, blah. He said 90 days, we're going to look at it, and it's working.
It's just 90 days to slow the spread of corrupt government money. That's it. It's not 2 years.
Talked to Secretary Rubio several times over the weekend and on Monday because of questions from my colleagues, questions from you, questions from a lot of people is, how's this going to go down? Well, the way it's working is there is constant input on programs going in right now that are being looked at. One of the best things that's happened about it is we have, from foreign relations, from intelligence, we've tried to get information out of these agencies, and man, it is tough, as you all know. Now that the agencies realize their programs are on the chopping block, they're running out of their cubby holes in mass, showing us information that we've been trying to get. This is going to work. Everybody stay calm. We'll get this done, and we'll reduce spending. Thank you.
Assume that all of you.
Regarding sanctions on ICC, among other things, ICC also investigating Russian crimes in Ukraine. Do you think American sanctions may impact this effort?
Well, I mean, I think for member nations, other work that they do, all we're simply saying is that Americans, soldiers, the U.S., Israel are not members of the ICC, and if they're going to target American citizens, then obviously we're going to impose sanctions. So it's a fairly straightforward bill. There are questions around, who all might be in the periphery impacted by that, but the bottom line is the United States and Israel are not members of what we think is an unlawful court. This court is targeting American citizens, and in this case, obviously targeting the Prime Minister of Israel. And so we think it's important to take a stand on that.
Our military leaders are called tracking the pacing threat that we face in the Middle Pacific. And one of the steps the President has taken is to use foreign military grants, including to Taiwan. Now, what do you see that as sending the wrong signal to Beijing when it comes to security in the Taiwan Strait?
Well, again, I would argue, and again, I think we'll get clarity on this with time. But I think any of these funding decisions are not unusual for a new administration. They're pausing, taking a look at where money's being spent, how it's being spent, and ensuring that it's spent wisely and well in accordance with this administration's plans. And I think, as I said earlier, the executive orders give a lot of guidance about what the administration's priorities are, and I think that the funding will end up following that.
Can we assume that you've heard from organizations?
All right, so that's it. Little update there from the United States Senate, mostly about Israel and the International Criminal Court. Okay. But a little bit more on the budget. Of course, Rapid Response 47 also bringing out Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller to come in here and correct the record on exactly what this pause is and how it works, since they're all melting down. My money, my government money, everything's going to fail because the government won't fund us. Okay, small business owners and other people who own businesses and self-employed and all these things don't get that government teat constantly. And you can see how big of a panic button it causes when you threaten it from the people who do.
Let's just walk through this because obviously there's confusion. Is this pause going to affect Medicaid?
It does not affect any service that the government is required to provide. It does not affect any entitlement. It does not affect any service to citizens. It does not affect any individual benefit, any public assistance program, or anything of that nature.
You just read it.
Okay. So
I'm very glad for the chance to explain what's going on here. In fact, I could actually give you some backstory I think you'd find very useful, Jake. So we found after the president had issued a pause on funding to NGOs that were settling illegal immigrants, we found that bureaucrats at HHS were trying to funnel billions more dollars to those resettlement agencies and try to get around the executive order. It became clear that bureaucrats were still trying to funnel unapproved discretionary grants of funds to their pet projects. So OMB, led by Russ Vought, felt it was necessary to protect taxpayer resources to issue clearer guidance establishing for these discretionary grants of funding that are not directed by Congress, that they go through a political approval process at the agency.
So they got nuked. And that's Stephen Miller explaining that. Now, he was also just like 15 minutes ago, C-SPAN gave us this. He came outside the White House to continue the conversation. Here's what this looks like. They just posted this saying he takes some questions on the executive order. And here is what he had to say just from moments ago.
Before we get started, I'm only going to do 5 minutes because we had a whole press briefing with Karoline, and I don't want to.
Can you just give us a sense? How long is this temporary pause on federal funding? How long is this pause going to last?
But the terms of the executive order is 90 days. But it's important to understand that it's a review process to say that there's for discretionary spending that's not directed by Congress or required by law. So this would be, for example, something like a contract to a non-governmental organization to teach, say, critical race theory, that there has to be a politically appointed individual in the departments or agencies who simply reviews and approves the expenditure so that we have control, democratic control over the operations of government. This doesn't affect any federal programs that Americans rely on, full stop.
It's not going to have any impact on any Americans and what they rely on?
In any program, like a benefit program that Americans rely on.
Like Meals on Wheels?
Correct. There's no, the OMB guidance document, which I think you're referring to, because the executive order was issued a week ago, it just gives clarity on how to implement the original executive order, which doesn't cover any entitlement or public benefit spending at all. And that's clear, by the way, if you read, as I'm sure you have, the OMB guidance document.
About El Salvador. So we know that the president spoke to President Bukele. Next week, Secretary Rubio will be in El Salvador. Should we be expecting El Salvador to take the Tren de Aragua Venezuelans as an agreement between the two countries?
All I can say on this, because I don't want to get ahead of Senator Rubio, is that the President Bukele has graciously offered tremendous degrees of cooperation with the United States on all things migration, and we're hoping that will provide a framework for migration cooperation all throughout the region. And I think it's very clear that President Bukele is going to be a very great and strong partner for this administration and for the United States.
And how does getting Venezuelans into El Salvador? Because, right now we don't have relationships with Venezuela.
Well, it is our
it is our full expectation that Maduro will accept all flights of TDA gang members back to Venezuela. Yes.
Is the Trump immigration method applicable to Europe? Europe has a huge immigration problem. Is that method of deportation, repatriation applicable to the continent of Europe?
If I understand your question correctly, you're asking, should Europe consider mirroring our own policies?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
How?
Well, I mean, it's simple. I mean, you have to establish a policy that says that anyone who crosses the border is going to be immediately repatriated, that anyone in the country illegally is subject to removal, of course, prioritizing public safety and national security, as well as we've done, is a general matter, suspending refugee resettlement, which of course poses enormous burdens on local communities and populations. Any other questions?
How engaged on the tariff administration is with countries from South America, as Brazil, for example, in this deportation flights?
Oh, deeply engaged. So, look, it's the president's expectation that countries all across the world participate fully in the enforcement of immigration laws, and in particular in the repatriation of their own citizens. This is a basic international obligation. The United States abides by, all developed nations abide by, and we expect all of the partner nations all throughout the region to abide by as well. And we've had incredibly productive conversations with, frankly, nations all across Latin America, led by Secretary of State Rubio, who, if I may say, has done an absolutely fabulous job.
How you know that Maduro will take TDA members
that are supposed to take effect or to be announced on February 1st. Can you just walk us through how you expect that to happen? The president has talked about 25% on Mexico.
I don't want to get ahead of the president. I will let him speak for himself on any tariff announcements. The bottom line is that the United States is going to have a trade policy that brings our manufacturing jobs back and that doesn't allow any other countries to exploit us.
Do you tell us about Canada, please?
Can you give us a... just to be clear, because I don't want to step on Karoline's briefing, so I'll do 3 more questions of this being the first of those 3.
Do you expect those tariffs?
Hold on,
Do you expect the tariffs to take effect immediately?
I want to defer to Andrea just to finish.
Well, no, I don't have anything else to add to that subject, so I just want to go here.
All right, my question is on numbers. Can you give us a sense, an exact figure of how many people have been brought up in the ICE raid so far, and how many you're expecting to do?
Well, ICE has published the daily numbers. I just did an interview with Jake Tapper, and he talked about the new targets that have been set, which is really a floor. I mean, to put this in perspective, I think in Biden's worst month in office, there was almost 350,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. So it gives you a sense of the scale of work that we have to do here. So we're going to continue to set ever more ambitious targets. But again, we're going to really focus in on public safety threats, understanding that you can't have a situation as a nation where, say, in Biden's last month in office, if he releases 100,000 illegals into the country, what, they're just all going to stay here for life, forever? Because they came in December of 2020, and now it's a lifetime pass. I mean, of course, you can't have a nation run that way. But we're going to focus on public safety and national security. All right,
Mr. Miller, about Canada, the Egyptian media today quoted a senior official that there was no call between President Trump and President Sisi. The president yesterday said on Air Force One that he has spoken to Sisi and asked him to take some of the population of Gaza.
Yeah, President Trump is correct, but any more questions on this, I want to refer to Mike Walls. All right, last one.
Would you be willing to preview the EOs that we should expect for the rest of the week?
I would love to, but I will let the comms and press team do that. I want to thank you all for your time, and I look forward to seeing you very soon.
Can you tell us if WIC will be... Thank you. Can you just tell us if WIC will be impacted? WIC, yes or no? Will it be impacted?
No public benefit program.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so answering some questions. It sounds like that may have been earlier in the day, but they just are publishing it now. But right around the same time as Karoline doing her press briefing, there were other updates. We also saw Mike Johnson was asked about this, so we're going to come back on that one. But I also saw this. Axios is reporting this, and the America PAC is reporting this. Elon is also reboosting this, saying now the Trump administration is going to offer all 2 million federal workers the chance to take a deferred resignation with a severance package of 8 months of pay and benefits. 5 to 10% of the workforce is estimated to quit, which could lead to around $100 billion in savings, which is a good start. 8 months pay and benefits. We hope a lot of people take that. Take it and run with it and get out of the government. All right, so we had that. We also saw Mike Johnson was asked about this new pause on the federal funds. Here's what he said, posted today via C-SPAN.
Well, Trump has been very busy with executive actions and orders over the last week. Most recently, of course, last night, he ordered freeze on federal grants. The White House since clarified that that was not meant as a blanket pause. There has just been a federal judge that paused that directive. But, you know, a number of Democrats are saying that this is not a legal action. Some Republicans have expressed nervousness about what this means for their constituents.
Yeah, their grip's coming to an end, too.
Do you have any concerns about that order to freeze grant aid?
I don't. I fully support it. We got a two-pager from OMB today to members of Congress explaining, I guess, an answer to some of the FAQs, frequently asked questions. It is a temporary pause. For some programs, it could be an hours-long pause. It is not a big thing. Some of the programs have already been approved, but this is I believe, an application of common sense. We want to make sure that the executive orders of the new president are being fully complied with regard to these programs. So I think these will be quick reviews. I don't think this is major interruption of programming or anything, and that specifies in the OMB guidance that any direct aid to individuals is not included in this. So I think this is something that the American people will approve of. I think they want us to be good stewards of the precious treasure of the American taxpayer. And the Biden administration engaged in a lot of abuses of the programs, and we have to make sure that that is not continuing. So this is the appropriate thing for a new administration to do. I think it'll be quick, and I think it's going to be harmless in the end.
And, you know,
Nice statement there from Mike Johnson explaining what's happening. And so there apparently was just a breaking order from a federal judge that's putting a pause on the pause. And so we'll pull that one up. But I also just saw this breaking, that Milley, General Mark Milley, one of the biggest criminals running around America right now, probably responsible for January 6th, is now going to have his security clearance pulled and his security detail stripped, courtesy of our new Secretary of Defense, a man who actually is competent and cares about our country, Pete Hegseth.
We've just learned tonight that Defense Secretary Hegseth plans to remove the security detail guarding former Joint Chiefs Chairman General Mark Milley.
That's right. Secretary Hegseth has decided on his second day to immediately pull General Milley's security detail, though multiple threats on his life remain. Karoline Leavitt was asked today if the president would take responsibility if anything happened to those whose security he's pulled. The president has said former government officials can't have security forever. Hegseth also ordered a second Milley Army portrait removed from the Army halls and ordered the new acting inspector general to conduct a review board to potentially strip General Milley of a star in retirement for, quote, undermining the chain of command during President Donald Trump's first term. All highly unusual actions. Brett.
Jennifer Griffin live.
Bye, Mark Milley. You don't deserve that security clearance or that security detail because you betrayed your country. You were supposed to secure the Capitol building and you didn't, and you were ordered to do so by your president, and you violated a direct order. So his security clearance is gone. Good riddance to that, and he can pay for his own. He's a famous general after all. So here was what I was mentioning. Federal judge temporarily blocks Trump's freeze, saying the White House had planned to enforce the pause on Tuesday by the close of business today. And so the AP is just reporting on that, right? So it's just breaking. Don't see even an order that is out. So we'll come back on that tomorrow. We'll see what the judge says. We'll see what the administration says. And of course, we're going to see what RFK says, because we're going to be back in the morning to cover that hearing live. So Health and Human Services, confirmation hearings tomorrow morning. We'll be back early, 8 a.m. Arizona. I think it's 10 a.m. Eastern time, right around then. We'll be covering it live. Thanks for joining as we do. Now, if you're just joining us, a quick recap on what we covered on today's show. Jack Smith's entire team got fired and nuked, so they're gone. Good riddance to them. Molly, Jay Bratt, the rest of them, all gone now. and they deserve it. We also saw what the firing letter looked like. So if you want to see what Trump said when he fired all these losers, check out the beginning of the show. We got some reaction as the DOJ was outside, apparently evacuating their building for some reason. Then we talked about Kash Patel and how the Democrats are launching a full-out assault on him. His confirmation hearings coming up this Thursday. Of course, we'll be covering those as well. We heard from Pencilneck Schiff. We heard from Chris Murphy. We heard from the Walrus Bolton. And we heard from our whistleblower friend, Steve Friend, who is telling us that the FBI are now calling in sick with the blue flu because they don't want to help the new administration. Then we talked about the border and how James Comer did not send subpoenas, as I misstated, but actually sent letters, just like little, you guys want to come over and like watch the game and testify about your sanctuary city. But as we know, these things start slowly and then they gain momentum. But they're now on notice. Congress is looking into them. Brandon Johnson, mayor of Chicago, Mayor Adams, mayor of New York City, Michelle Wu, mayor of Boston, and others. We had Tom Homan come out and absolutely obliterate the mainstream media, saying, stop harassing us about treating people poorly, okay? No, we're not putting them on a presidential airplane like Colombia is, but we're treating them in a humanitarian fashion, much more respect than they showed our country when they broke in here illegally and violated the law. Then we heard from Karoline Leavitt, and she was great today. Her first press briefing, did a great job talking about what the future will look like in delivering the president's message with poise and excellence. Karoline Leavitt was a lot of fun. Of course, a lot of battling on this new pause. I'm not worried about the pause. It's only 90 days, and we're just going to figure out what's happening, and then we'll take it from there. We'll see what the federal judge says tomorrow once those cases percolate. But now, my friends, it's time to hear from you and to see what you have to say about all this. Thank you for sending in these amazing donos. We got some new membos who are joining in. Great to see new membos. If you just joined as a membo, check out the stream from this morning. We do members-only streams in the morning when we don't have other stuff that we're covering, like tomorrow and Thursday we'll have the confirmation hearings. But check that out. We had some fun stuff we talked about today, and we love our membos and everybody, obviously. But let's see who's here. We got some great donos that came in. We got Donut clipping for us. John in the house. Modding the fort down for us. Thank you, fellas, for doing that. Let's see who is commenting here. We got some great stuff that's dropping. Let's see. Oh, yes. We got a bunch of stuff here. Okay, I think I saw Uncivil Laws in the house. Here we go. Yes, here's one. It's only Tuesday. Yeah, it is. We got confirmation hearings this week, Wednesday and Thursday. So it's going to go fast. Hey, Knox is here. Said, happy Tuesday, all. It appears Little Miss Gomez could house a few folks at her place. That's Selena Gomez's residence? Oh, my goodness. That's a nice place. She could fit, like, I don't know, 100 illegal aliens in there. Like, probably just like 20 on that top floor. Tons of illegals. She should help. Niels, what's up? Did you already apply for a White House press pass? I have not applied. I actually did go to the website, though, and it's not working. It's down. So you can try, see if it's working, but I don't think it is. It's broken. Everybody wants to get in there. All hail Tarpon Springs tyrants. AKA Stop Sniffing Kids, Joe. Love your show. It's good to see you. All hail Tarpon Springs. That's two babies, 18 months. Thank you, All hail. Previously Stop Sniffing Kids, Joe. Uncivil Law is in the house. What's up, Uncivil? Good to see you. He's right next door. Uncivil Kurt. Yikes. FAFO for real. That's right. There's no playing around right now, and I'm here for it. Good to see you, Uncivil. Right next door on YouTube does legal content. You should check him out. Knox says, all right, the next DJT needs to defund the Department of Education. I mean, could kids get any dumber? Johnny not only cannot read, he cannot think critically, follow simple direction, or even form a full sentence. I am back to having clients who sign plea paperwork with their mark. Oh my gosh, Knox, that's not good. Yeah, I think there's a real problem with that. I mean, COVID, I think, set education back. Like, everybody kind of skipped a year developmentally. Even adults, like, regressed like 5 years. Like, what? You got dumber since I knew you last. They're like, yeah, I know. It's not good. we do need to figure out what's going on with that. We need a smart, educated population. Knox, LOL, a little tear came to my eye for all the overpaid federal workers who have to actually physically go into work. In addition, we can all get fired. Why must they be protected? Yeah, it's interesting. It's always an interesting thing. It's like every other small business owner, Knox, right? You run your law firm. I ran my law firm. Nobody gave us any money. Like, oh, you just get paid from the government to do the thing. There are public defenders. That is a thing. But businesses, right? Most people in this country have to go earn a client and develop a product or service that people want to buy, which creates an incentive to do good work so people buy it. The government folks, right, and these government bureaucrats don't have to do that. Now, I'm not saying that every person in the government is doing something useless. Obviously, that's not true. But we need to know who is and vet them accordingly and clean house. John McGarvey says another activist judge who's jumping in to stop the pause from taking effect. Thank you, John. 30 months as a membo, John McGarvey in the house. That's multiple babies. Glocky shared that one, which we read, right? And that was a nice clarifying statement from the government. Chubby Stubby is in the house. Says, OMG, not highlighter girl. I know, she was so valuable to the DOJ. How will the briefs get highlighted now? What will become of the extensive highlighter budget for the department? This is clearly the end of our great nation. Yeah, I don't know. She's going to have to go to a law firm and like highlight their crap. Good luck to her. But we're going to save a lot of money. I'm sure her highlighter budget was probably, $1 million on Jack's team. They stole $100 million. So how much of that went to highlighters? Who knows? Thank you, Chubby. Rick D. What's up, Rick Donner? Well, Karine was looking for a new job. Maybe she signed on with Swalwell. You think Karine and Swalwell are working together? What are they doing together? Wrecking anything they touch? One old guy's opinion says Swalwell. Talking about pooping pants on air, and we'll just let you read that one on your own time. Thank you for the dono, though, one old guy. He says, one old guy's opinions. Can't read those. Glocky says, breaking news, right on cue, the Democrats are blocking Trump. There you go. Biden appointed judge blocks the Trump spending freeze. All right, we'll see what else we can do. One old guy's opinion says, I was just following orders. Who does that sound like? Sounds like Democrats. Sheila Poo says, if they had joined to enforce the rule of law, they would have refused to participate in the Trump persecutions. Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right. You don't have to prosecute those cases, right? You can resign. You don't have to abuse your office to commit new crimes. If you do that, you're a criminal. And we swear oaths, and the oaths, are to be honorable and act with integrity and to uphold the law and all of that stuff. You have a duty of candor to the court. You can't be a criminal prosecutor. And they exist. We just watched them. Glocky. Thank you, Sheila. Glocky says, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has stripped Mark Milley's security detail and his security clearance. He might also be getting demoted. That's what you get for committing crimes. Glocky, thanks for this one. Yeah, we read that one on the show from Steve Friend. Great comment. Glocky says, I kind of hope Democrats do leak something. Would love to see them prosecuted. This is a criminal disclosures concept. Saying under the Espionage Act, it's a felony to make unauthorized disclosures. They should keep that in mind when they're inquiring upon Tulsi. What's up, John Libby on the YouTubes? Says, I think Jamie needs to go across the pond to the Monarch. We fire people here. They sack over there. Jamie Raskin, okay. Was he using our European friends' vernacular? B.H. Williams says, the Honorable Dick Durbin, ranking member. Respectfully, this letter came in, the Honorable from Anthony J. Tata, writing on behalf of Kash Patel, saying Kash Patel's amazing, does a great job. Shout out to Anthony J. Tata, Brigadier General, retired U.S. Army, for that. We got Vanessa Stuhler. What's up? 21 months as a membo, 2 babies plus. Thank you, Vanessa, for supporting us for so long. Says Patel is showing he is highly qualified for the FBI. Yeah, that's why they don't want him there. Because he's not one of them coming up through their standard hierarchy, which means he's vetted to not be a threat to them. Hey, KW, number 10 says, wait, Swalwell is upset about J6ers running rampant in cities. I thought that his side liked terrorists running free everywhere. That's weird. Yeah, they certainly were fine with the BLMers burning down the 3rd precinct in Minneapolis. In fact, they all went down and took knees. Remember that? It's like took a knee. Siding with those. But when Trump pardons people who had their due process violated by a corrupt jurisdiction that's 93% Democrats, they don't even blink an eye. One old guy's opinion says, we are all still waiting for the evidence you have about Trump. Shifty. We are one old guy. He has none. There is none. Calm and Free. What's up, Calm and Free? It has been a minute. Took several jobs to afford Bidenomics. Man, I hope things really accelerate for you and all of us. Looking forward to watching and supporting Watching the Watchers over the next few years as so many wrongs you've covered are made right. It's good to have you back, Calm and Free. We're about to enter the golden age. We're entering it right now. And for those of you who were around in 16, right, I started my law firm in 2014, and I got to see Obama, then the Trump era, then the Biden era. And it's like brakes go on, brakes come off. So thanks for being back, Calm and Free. Good to have you. Colleen says, I didn't know being Catholic was a crime. Well, it sort of was, according to Christopher Wray. I know. Wild times we lived through. Glocky says, Kash said the enemy within. Meanwhile, the Democrats' Department of Homeland Security has a whole document about extremism, domestic extremism, homegrown violent extremism, racially motivated violent extremism. Remember all those RMVEs, DVEs, all the things? If you're a patriot movement, if you like alternative media, remember they said like Tim Pool was like going to end democracy. The people are the enemy, right? And that's from their documentation. Amazing. Knox says, for 4 years, these jerks have broken every rule, ignored every subpoena, laughed in our faces when questioned about anything. Even if their angst doesn't last, it is quite sweet. It is enjoyable. And reading the firing memos to the DOJ people was one of the most enjoyable experiences we've had here recently. Sharpie Guy says, I missed my 4 p.m. appointment with y'all, so I'm watching from the get-go. And I want to let you know I'm tuning in, watchers. Good to see you, Sharpie Guy. Says, oopsie daisy, but 40 minutes behind. Y'all, I'll be right back in marching steps. Right now, I'm at Leo Terrell. Good to see you, Sharpie Guy. You're a little bit behind, but we'll catch up. We'll of course be back tomorrow. Sheila the Pooh, a million hugs to you. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 10 new membos. Look who's coming in, new friends. Aha is here. Killa Kool-Aid. We got Raygun Moo. Hallie P, number 309. Robert DeBoard. Aaron Rodriguez. Tom Fitton is hot, is in the house. The Incredible Hal, David Bybee, Pistol Pete, and the Willa Magger in the house shouting out Pooh, saying thank you to Sheila Pooh for bringing in 10 new membos. A million hugs to you. One old guy says Sanctuary City mayors are all jerks. Say ice hole 3 times fast if you want to try that. Sam in Texas is here. Says Trump is using these executive orders and moving fast to dismantle things while they are challenged in court. They studied hard and are well prepared. Although media at the White House press briefings and alternative media at the White House press briefings to hold the MSM accountable. Yeah, right. It's like the stranglehold on all the traditional mechanisms of power are being chiseled away at. Right? The money and the media are 2 huge centerpieces of their power, and Trump's going after both of them. Thank you for that, Sam in Texas. What's up, Mock Schnell? Mock Schnell bringing in 20 new membos. Mock Schnell, thanks for doing that. Look who's coming in. 20 new friends. Marco V. We got Connor B. Grifton. Michael Nissen. Pinecone is here. West Coast Donnie. Doc Brining. Alessandra Grieco is here. We got Chris Blanchard, War Doggy, Melissa Archiero Durr. We got Maui Girl, The Purple Hatter, Chris D, Carla Shibiro, John in Iowa, Debbie Mock, Tamitha H, Kristen Harris, Kevin, and Culpy Collab. Gifted membos, courtesy of Mock Schnell in the house. Thanks for bringing in 20 new friends, Mock Schnell. Hey, Kane Combs is here. Became a new supporter. K9 Comms in the house. Good to see you, K9 Comms. Colleen says, Tom Homan has his piece down pat. He's probably getting tired of the press. I shouldn't laugh. But the press, I'm sorry, but they need help. At least Fox seems sane. From Colleen. Former LEO says, Pentagon's pulling General Milley's security detail and clearance immediately. May face demotion in retirement. Woo. This old guy says, I thought I'd heard every stupid comment possible in my 75-year life, but unconstitutional pause on federal benefits just moved in the first place. From this old guy. It's unconstitutional for you to pause my federal benefits. Like, what country is this? What? You can't take away my rights? What? Where in the Constitution does it say anything about that? It doesn't. Thank you, this old guy. Hilarious. One old guy's opinion says, media still using undocumented instead of illegal, like schmucks. I know we played a clip of that from MSNBC this morning. She's like, we don't say alien on our channel. Bill Dozer says, this new press secretary is a serious upgrade in many ways. You know, speaking of upgrades, I added soundboard effects to my shows. So check out the Bill Dozer show. Monday, Thursday, Saturday, 9:30, trying to hit 1K followers by April. Amazing. Great milestone. Follow Bill Dozer 74 on Rumble. Check it out. Soundboards. Like, you know, banging and stuff. Stuff like that. That's fun. Or like those radio shows when people are like, you know, pooping and stuff. Army veteran says Jim Acosta has joined Substack. Of course he has. Good luck, Jim. No one's going to read your garbage there either. Allegan News says Zipline, a draw delivery service, was doing testing in New Jersey. Is that what the drones were? Allegan News is what maybe you're hinting at? Zipline, a draw delivery service, maybe drone delivery service was doing testing. Maybe that's what it was. It's just like DoorDash. Like, we're just delivering hamburgers. What's your problem, America? Glocky says, well said. If Biden can't be punished or held to account by the courts for refusing to enforce the immigration laws, then Trump has the absolute power to pick and choose which federal funding laws he wishes to either enforce or not. Yeah, it's a separation of powers thing, right? I mean, like if Biden just decides I'm not going to build the wall or I'm not going to do these things, he has discretion. It's executive discretion. Law of self-defense is also on YouTube. And he's posting the following, saying, Congress exercises its legislative powers to create laws of what may be done. The president exercises his executive powers to decide which of those laws will be done. Right. And if Congress can also execute the laws, then we don't need two branches at all. Congress can dictate the money, allocate the money, appropriate the money, but they don't execute the law. That's the executive branch. So good luck to them. Colleen says Democrats are not liking that Trump did his job description and abilities homework this time around and knows who's going where, and they're all effective. We got Pinochet's helicopter tours. Super fun. In my humble opinion, Trump will have to go nuclear on Patel and appoint him after dismissing Congress. So I feel like Kash is actually more like, for some reason, the vibes out there are more, I think, concerned about Tulsi, which is curious. I'm not sure why that is exactly, but that's the kind of vibes I'm picking up. But I hope they all get through. I think they all will get through. Dean Diefendorf, what's up? One new membo's coming in, American Dreamer. It's great to see you, American Dreamer. Nice to have you back as a membo, and thank you for bringing her in, Dean. Former LEO says a federal judge just issued a temporary stay on the temporary stop to the funding on the pause. Pinochet's helicopter tours on Rumble says, when the FBI opens a file on someone, they sometimes give the target a designation. People who love the Constitution are designated 22-0. Do citizens have a right to know if the FBI has a file on them? I mean, historically, no, I don't think so. You can request with your FBI, a background check, but like, top secret stuff and stuff like that. Like, you can go ask the FBI to do a background check for you and actually go to their website and request it, and they'll do it. They'll tell you what they find on you. But like if they have an investigatory file on you, like, no, they don't have to give that to you. Like if you're a criminal under investigation, can you tell me what you have on me? Give me a call and give me what you have. Like, It's a great question. It'd be nice if we could do that, kind of ask the government. Like, you can go on Facebook and say, I want to download all the data of myself that you have on me. Like, you go to the government. What's my file? But no, they're, Edward Snowden might have some things to say about that too. American Dreamer just gifted a membo to Annie Quell. What's up, Annie Quell? Welcome aboard, American Dreamer. Thanks for doing that. Glocky shared this from Med Gold. Said JD Vance gets nagged. Tom Homan gets pestered. Selena Gomez cries. Leftism is now over. Glocky's also sharing this one from Benny Johnson, saying she's got a $5 million palace in L.A. That's a nice, look at that. You can fit, look how many illegals you can fit in there. Tons. Glocky says OpenAI is launching ChatGPT government for U.S. agencies. So that's good. So what, they can censor us automatically now? Philip Coggin says in the past, when military leaders effed up as badly as Milley or Austin, they had a common courtesy to retire. From Philip Coggins. Elf is here, bringing in 20 membos. Thank you, Elf, for doing this one. 20 friends coming in. Grifty's here. King Fans 62. Becky Johnson. Hybrid Harry. We got John Lyman. Jill. Allison Lawler. Boss Marie. James Payton. James Weatherly. Sherry Ann Connolly. Stefan 005. Maha Russi. Movie Feast. Save the Doggos. Eric Sisson. Steven O. Seymour. Frank Philippus. Doris and Jenny P. Gifted membos courtesy of Elf. ELF in the house, bringing in 20 new membos. Thank you, Elf, for doing that. Crash says, Rob, I dropped a comment too big for the chat. We'll see if we can grab that, Crash. Thanks for the nice dono. We'll make sure we read it. Knox says, Robert, you totally need to apply for White House credentials. How exciting. And you're crazy good enough. Thank you, Knox. It would be pretty damn fun. Could you imagine that? I'm not joking. Is Liz Cheney being arrested today? Hi, Carolyn. Robert Govea here, watching the Watchers. Is Liz Cheney being arrested today? And if not today, when will it be happening? Thank you. You're not answering the question, though. I have handcuffs right here. All right, Knox, thank you for that. It would be fun. Hey, what's up? I'd rather be skiing is here. And it's snowing in Prescott, Arizona. I'm watching it. It's snowing outside right now. It's been beautiful all day. Hey, I'd rather be skiing. 20 membos. We got this one. Antonius, David Caroline, Gilly Claude, Jack Istridge, Drew the Dogman, America First, Chadwick Myers, Lisa Gordon, Bumstead, Tunucci Trump, Wu Ta Shah, leaders here, Sandra Cook, Antoinette Alvarado, PK from AK. We got Michael Watkins, Raider Max, Steph and Mindy, Southern Lady, Rachel Chrysler, and Digitalis gifted membos in the house. Thank you, I'd rather be skiing, for bringing in 20 new membos. One old guy says, week 1 in the books, 207 to go in the golden age. Relantel is here 11 months, coming up on that 1-year anniversary. Thank you, Relantel, for supporting us almost a full year. Says, way behind live, but thanks for all you do. Thank you, Relantel. Well, we'll catch you up. We'll see you back here tomorrow, too. Jia Jiang, 35 months as a membo, coming up on a 3rd year anniversary. Almost 3 years, Jia. That's amazing. Keep up the awesome work you do, Rob. Thank you, Jia. Thanks for hanging with us for so long, man. That's like multiple babies. I can't even multiply how many. Thank you for that. Really glad to have you here. We're just warming up. A lot more to go. KC Cat says, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the socials to help Rob grow this channel, and join for cool emojis and for members only content. Thank you, KC Cat, for that really nice comment. It's very persuasive. Hopefully it's working. John McGarvey says, get on it, Rob. I clicked this earlier and it wasn't working. Yeah, look, it doesn't work. The website's down. Did the FBI hack us? Look, whitehouse.gov new media. Look what it does. You're banned. Christopher Ray's in my tubes. Let's go, Brandon. Says, Rob, would you wrestle Acostas? Or would you be worried about all the incidental low blows, grabbing of the nads, and AIDS-related grappling? You mean Jim Acostas? Like, would I wrestle with Jim Acostas? Of course I would. Like, for charity? Heck yeah. That'd be a ton of fun. Or not for charity. Just to determine the future of America. That'd be a lot of fun. But that's because I like to wrestle, and I like, it's kind of my jam. Not that I'm like any good at it. Is he like any good at it? I think it'd be fun. Sheila says, I think in addition to adding new news people to the briefings, they need to review the licenses for the MSM. Yeah, they're all getting obliterated. They're all getting sued. I think CNN just settled another lawsuit. Their lies are coming home to roost. They should not have been lying to everybody for so long. Rick Donner says the Dems are concerned about Tulsi because she was one of them. Then she got to DC and saw the BS and calls it out. From Rick D. Yeah, they're panicked about her too. And it's weird. I'm hearing murmurings that some of the Republicans are also questionable with Tulsi, which would just be amazing. Of course, I mean, pathetic because that's who they are. Thank you, Rick. One old guy says Tulsi, RFK Jr. worry the Dems. Why is that? They put Tulsi on a watch list, and RFK Sr. and JFK info is coming out soon enough. Yeah, we'll see. There was the executive order that calls for a plan to release the documents. We'll see if the documents ultimately come out. Hey, what's up? Debbie Cole. Rob, do you still have a law firm? No, I do not. No. So I left my law firm, sold my portion to my business partner, Ryan, at the R&R Law Group, and they're still cranking away, doing a great job, serving the good folks of Arizona. Good people charged with crimes at rrlawaz.com. So you can check out my old firm. They're still kicking and doing well. So thank you, though, for asking about it, Debbie Cole. If you need anything legally, they're going to be the people to talk to. Rob, I just want to hear you say, go Big Orange. Is that an NFL thing? Go Big Orange. Is that a sports ball team? Good luck to them. I don't even know who's... The Super Bowl, right, is coming up. Don't know who's in it. Who is that? Is Trump in the Super Bowl? Is that Trump related? I don't know what it is. Anyways, I said it. Go Big Orange. If it's talking about Trump, I can get behind that one. All right, so Orange Man. All right, so good stuff. All right, my friends, thank you so much for sending those donos in. Really appreciative of those. Let's say hello to our friends on X before we wrap it up for the day. Go on over to Locals and hang out and debrief for a little bit on this lovely Tuesday. We've got some friends who were joining us. Oh, no. Rob, got a letter from the former boss today for you. Sorry, I have to deliver this. Oh, no. We have one final letter from the briefing room. My wife's house. Here's a statement by former National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, who went to Oxford, as you know, on the COVID outbreak. All right, so this looks clearly official. Jake Sullivan is writing this to me, which I will now read to you. January 28th, 2025, statement today. Jake Sullivan, who went to Oxford, as you know, is much smarter than all of us. He's so smart. He wrote this. Robert, as we are leaving the White House, I wanted to give you and your cult, thanks, Jake, one last gift of information. You know, last week we declassified the CIA files involving the COVID outbreak. I know you guys believe that the outbreak started in the street corner marketplace. I know you guys 1000% believed it was from the civilians of China. Turns out that was incorrect. Jake says it actually started from a lab. Oh no. I am not allowed to share which lab because of security reasons. However, you guys are welcome. I know this will be a hard pill to swallow since, again, you guys all said it came from some guy biting the head of a bat or something, but you guys are crazy. Turns out it was a lab confirmed by me, January 24th, 2025. Jake Sullivan. Well, there you go. From Oxford. From his wife's house. Maybe he's back in Oxford. All right, so there we go. That's from Dave Smith. All right, that's Jake Sullivan. Good riddance to Jake. All right, what's up? James Pepper says, fang, no bang, bang. All right. James says, Rob in Dallas, ICE is facing protests as well. B. Torn says, AOC made another outrageous claim. What's up, B. Torn? Don Rivers. Hey, Rob and Tom Fitton going out. We'll tag team the press briefings. How funny is that, Don? Thanks for that. Thank you, Raz. Marianne Gonzalez is saying people are still listening to Fang talk. Yeah, and Abby is saying your new press secretary is outstanding. Yeah, we're happy with her. Definitely an upgrade. All right, and so, my friends, we are going to leave it there. Rick D says, Rob, I tagged you on Twitter with that J6 filing I mentioned this morning. Thank you, Rick. I'll have to take a look at that one. And thanks for the dono. Rick D, always got good news and the latest on the latest. Wojo says, the stats came out on how many South Americans will be deported. They are guessing about a Brazilian. They are guessing about a Brazilian. Like a specific Brazilian or how many numbers of Brazilians? All right, we'll keep our eye on that one too, Wojo. Thank you for sending that dono in. My friends, very generous. Really appreciate you being here. Thanks for hanging with us. Tomorrow, we're going to be back early because RFK Jr. is going to be going through his confirmation hearing, and we're going to be covering it live. So thank you for subscribing, and thanks for planning on being here first thing in the morning when we kick things off. We're going to leave it there on the day. We want to thank our amazing mods and meme smiths before we wrap it up. K-Bean, Donut, Carrie B, Playing Hooky, Dog Digger, and Janek modding the fort down for us, keeping things oh so beautiful and nice and orderly around here. But my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We're heading over to watchingthewatchers.locals.com for our members only after party. Come and join us if you'd like to be a part of that. Otherwise, we're coming back here in the morning to get into it again. It's going to be RFK season, and we need to get healthier in this country, and we're going to do it starting soon. We're going to make America healthy again, and we're going to see you right back here in the morning to get into it again. And we can't get into it without you. That's why we need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.